Neil and Buzz, the President of the United States is in his office now and would like to say a few words to you. Over. That would be an honor. Go ahead, Mr. President. This is Houston out.
Hello, Neil and Buzz. I'm talking to you by telephone from the Oval Room at the White House. And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made. I just can't tell you how proud we all are of what you do. For every American, this has to be the proudest day of our lives. And for people all over the world, I am sure they too join with Americans in recognizing what an immense feat this is. Because of what you have done, the heavens have become a part of man's world. And as you talk to us from the Sea of Tranquility, it inspires us to redouble our efforts to bring peace and tranquility to Earth. For one priceless moment.
All right, hold on.
Families lose.
Families lose.
Families lose.
Families lose. Families lose. Billionaires win.
And billionaires win.
Billionaires win.
Billionaires win.
And that is the truth.
And that's the truth.
And that's the truth.
And that is the truth.
The only truth you know is what you get over this tube. We'll tell you anything you want to hear. We lie like hell. We deal in illusions, man. None of it is true. But you people sit there day after day, night after night, all ages, colors, creeds. We're all you know. You're beginning to believe the illusions we're spinning here.
If you only knew how much money has been spent to brainwash you, you would actually feel really special. The Kate Dalley Show starts now.
That is the truth. Welcome to the show. And I was playing a clip that I thought I was playing a clip and I wasn't. So I'm back. So glad to be back, actually. So it's been a month, and I didn't realize when I left that it was going to be a month. And my father passed away, and it has been kind of a really sad, hard, interesting month for me. So my father and I were close, and he came to dinner every Sunday. I loaded him up with Tupperwares for the week. He had an amazing 91 years of life, and he was just a really good dad. So if I concentrate on that too much, I'll start crying. So, oh my gosh, I didn't even think I'd get emotional. How weird. So anyway, I just wanted to say that he was such a good guy. So I took care of him when he was dying. And it was a good experience, actually. And my faith has really gotten me through. So I really appreciate faith right now. And losing my mom and my dad in 8 months has been weird, to tell you the truth. So I really appreciated all the emails and all the things, all the concern, and people were wondering where I was. I always post on Facebook if I'm going to be gone. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that people realized that I was taking a break for a month, which I had never done in 16 years, actually. So it was a long one. Melissa's going to be with me on the show. Say hi, Melissa.
Hey, from the Midwest.
So I have to hit a lot of headlines right now because I just do. I mean, a lot has happened in the last month, and by the way, I'll talk a little bit more about my dad tomorrow. Tomorrow, Dr. Lee Merritt is coming on, so I really appreciate her coming on, and she'll be fantastic, by the way. So I just wanted to let you know why I was gone, and I'm so sorry about that because a lot of people were like, "What?" Thought something had happened to me, and no, I was just dealing with a lot of stuff. So I'm so grateful now to be back. So let me gonna get away from my dad because I'm very weirdly emotional right now, and don't want to do that through the whole show. John Rappaport passed away. He'd been on the show many times. He was also on InfoWars and a bunch of different places you could find John. And I really love John's take because it's the first picture here. John John had an unusual take. He was in media and then realized what liars media people are. They really are on both sides. And so he took up the cause and thought, okay, I'm going to do a blog and I'm going to talk about the things that are real. And he and I talked a lot about COVID when COVID was going on, Blovid, the lie. And he knew it was a complete and utter lie. So did I. And so we really tried to join forces during that time to let people know. So we were also banned from a lot of places too when we started talking like that. Mark Sorensen was also a guest on the show. He wrote the book about vitamin D. He is also passed, and I just wanted to let people know that. He was a great guest as well, really talking about vitamin D and sunlight. And by the way, sunlight helps reduce your cholesterol, and there's just so many things sunlight does. So get out in the sun. And I just wanted to let you know about these two deaths because both very sad to me. And John, John was an unusual person. He was just a good guy and just wanted to tell the truth and did it a lot in story and parable so people could understand, and I really enjoyed that about him. And there's very, very few honest media people, very few. So really appreciated that. And there's so much in the news. So let me comment very, very quickly about this one. Oh my gosh. I'm going to tell you my first thought about this one because I have to just, before Melissa comes on and does her thing, I just wanted to tell you about Lindsay. So Lindsay, pretty much very closeted. People know that. In the news for a long time about that. And when this happened on a Saturday night, I actually told some of my friends, because they were texting me, what do you think about Lindsay suddenly dying? And the headlines on our media on the right were all about like, oh, Russia got him and Ukraine got him. And I'm laughing because Zelensky's gay, Lindsay's gay, most everyone in Congress and the Senate and everywhere is either bi or gay or something's going on there. And so he was visiting the Ukraine and there were so many holes around his sudden death. And my first thought, I'll give you my first thought. My first thought was that he died in a sex game that had gone wrong and they had to cover it up somehow. So they fueled the alt-right media. I'm conservative, but they fueled the alt-right media with stories about Russia and Ukraine to try to get it to seem like he was some sort of rebel. And he wasn't. He was far from it. He was besties with McCain, who was a total sicko, evil person. And all these guys did exactly what they were told to do. So he wasn't bucking the system. They weren't trying to get rid of him. I actually think this was a sex game gone wrong because few deaths are going to happen like that on a Saturday night. And what do we usually do on Saturday night? Well, it's date night. So I actually think he died in a sex game gone wrong, but they really couldn't. Something sexual that happened. With maybe some guests or whatever. That was my initial thought. And I'm telling you, I still think I'm right about this one. So I just wanted to share that with you because, yeah, you can think I'm crazy. I don't care. That was just my first thought. So I wanted to share that with you. Lindsay is not some sort of guy who speaks out and tells the truth. So they didn't need to get rid of him. And the only thing they would ever need to do is cover up this guy's death. So give me a break. All right. So let's go to the next one, shall we? So this is so much fun. So is this picture AI? The pictures that came out of Mitch McConnell looking refreshed and healthy. Interesting. Yeah, I think he's dead. And what's that, Melissa?
Suspiciously wrinkle-free.
We're the stupidest people on earth. Yeah. I think they Ginsburged him, and I think it's Weekend at Bernie's. And I also think that he is very much dead, and they can't really announce that. They need to keep his seat occupied with his fake vote. And so his little China wifey poo. I think that he's a complete and total sellout. He'll do anything he was told to do. And when Ginsburg died, we did shows, Uncle Milty and I don't know if you guys remember this, but we did shows about her because we thought it was Weekend at Bernie's. And we were pretty sure about that. And And I think they're doing the same thing here. I think they're keeping him alive with all these really weird, odd photos that don't make sense, like him in jeans in a hospital bed, and then him standing in this room with all these issues. And I'm showing this meme on YouTube because I want you guys to see. There's just so many things that like didn't add up. So if you're a health professional, especially, so many things in the room that were so odd. So I just, Mitch is dead. So. God. But we're the stupidest people on earth. Okay, so let's pivot for just a moment. I wanted to talk about fake G. So so here's a picture from him from 2014 and here's a photo from him from 2021. Let's just digest that one for a moment. Little different features. Interesting. Okay, I'm just kind of looking at ears don't match and noses don't match and weird, a little weirdness around this. And so now the book is coming out and I think we're being sold. So we all know COVID was fake. And if you still think it was from Wuhan, it was not. It did not come from Wuhan. So that was a fake story. It was cultivated there, but it was done by our own intelligence, our own CIA. So when they did this fakery, and government, military intelligence as well. So when they did this fakery, Fauci was always going to be the fall guy, and he was always going to be the guy that now we're going to get mad at. And I'm like, yeah, we should have been mad from the very beginning. We should have seen it from the very beginning because this is ridiculous. So they're going to make him the fall guy, but nothing's going to happen to him. He pleads the fifth, which is what's going on. And so I just wanted to mention this because this was a very weird, all of the sudden we're thrown back on Fauci. All of a sudden it's back to fake Fauci. And when I say fake, his role wasn't fake. He was there to promote the shots, okay? But there's something very weird going on here. And the reason I say this is because we are a people that doesn't understand what diversion means. And when I say that, what I mean is this. Okay, you have the Charlie Kirk death, right? And then you have Erica in the courtroom with a legal team, okay? And she's the one making demands. Okay, that never happens. The widow would just sit in the audience, okay? Because it's the state versus Tyler the patsy. So the fact that we have the media distracting us in that way with Erica it's all fakery. So you know when the media is on something 24/7, it's going to be fake. Him kind of coming clean, but not really coming clean. So the whole story won't be told, but we'll be getting bits and pieces. This is a really interesting one because they're going to try to have our focus on the rage against Fauci. Not that it isn't deserved, okay, but he isn't the only player. He's like the fall guy player. And so they want you to focus on fake G rather than who was really at the world scenario of COVID. So they have to always put a face on everything so that you have your anger on the person that they want you to have your anger on. Not that you shouldn't, but at the same time, realize what we're up against here. So one of the things that on the show we've been really successful at, and probably the reason that I still do this, is pointing out diversions, pointing out the truth. And in the 60s, we had the hippie culture to explain sort of the mass shooter coming on the scene. Before that, we didn't have mass shooters. We had somebody who had a vengeance who took somebody out. But we didn't have just some random mass shooter that was going to shoot somebody, okay? And we didn't have the lone gunman. But the reason they did part of the 60s, and it was a big CIA thing that started in San Francisco, to cultivate these kinds of people, was for you to think that the world had gone mad and crazy due to drugs and hippiness. Okay, is that a word? Hippie culture. And that they had to have some sort of reason to explain the mass shooter and lone gunman, okay? And it wasn't true, but they were cultivated MK Ultra people, but they had to have some sort of diversion to it, just like they had the rise in cancer as soon as the vaccine program came out. That was your diversion there. You weren't supposed to notice that now in 2026, we are looking at 1 in 2 gets cancer in their lifetime now. So you weren't supposed to notice that our health was declining, although vaccines were supposed to save us. I mean, it's kind of a running joke, right? You take all these vaccines. Well, if those vaccines were real, you'd be amazing. You'd be in amazing health, but they're not. And so they are there to harm health so that you become a subject for pharma over and over and over again in your lifetime. And they can profit on you, useless eater, as you phase out of your life. So that is the distraction there. We had the Blovid, and we had the shots from coming from Wuhan, China, because they couldn't point to us, to our intelligence. They had to point away from us, always away from us. So they had to say it was China trying to kill everybody. We're in cahoots with China, so it makes zero sense. But that was the story. And so they also want you to think it just arose out of thin air. Now, we didn't have anything like that before 2020, and we didn't have anything like that after 2020, just 2020. So all of a sudden, out of thin air, something arises and everyone's going to die, and everyone runs to get shots and put masks on like feeble, weak little individuals who can't think. Okay. And so we don't even go, well, gee, why hasn't this happened before like this? In a state of having zero problems with plumbing, we don't have any issues with anything like that, which is usually what causes bacterial disease. So this is a case of not bacteria, but fakery. So this is the kind of like, I think that so the shots were dangerous. Yes. The shots kill people. Yes. But because they had all kinds of recipes. But on the flip side of this, I think it was also a diversion, and that diversion is starting to crop up in data centers, and that is water. And I think actually, while they wanted everyone to look at the shots, they're actually doing some experimentation with our water. And the reason I say that, which I'll comment more on tomorrow, is due to all the articles coming out, like in Ohio, where it talks about less water quality when it comes to data centers. So you're going to get less water quality, but the data center needs really good water quality, which makes zero sense, right? So if these data centers were really about your information and storing that, it wouldn't matter what kind of water they had, but they're selling it to you as they need the finest water available. And we useless eaters, get the scraps. So I'm just telling you that there's all kinds of diversions here, and Fauci is a big, big diversion. He's a big part of this, and that is because it's just more and more like concentrate your anger here. X marks the spot. Endlessly talk about Fauci instead of talking about how the world was in, even Iran, even China, even Russia, pretty much bought the COVID narrative. No one really bucked it. Okay. Putin did a little, but it wasn't that much. And everyone went along with the lie, even though they knew it was a lie. So because if you actually think about this whole entire scenario, you're going to understand that nothing ever happened like that before. Once we got good plumbing, not like the Black Plague centuries ago. And then you have nothing since. And so why all of a sudden did this crop up out of thin air? It makes zero sense. So I just wanted to kind of go over that for just a moment, kind of like autism. Autism is the same kind of thing. There's lots of distractions around autism to make you think that, oh, it's just naturally occurring, but it's not. Okay, it started to rise after the vaccine program mixed with chemicals, as Stephanie Seneff from MIT disclosed on my show like a decade ago, that it was the mixture of chemicals with the metals in vaccines that were causing autism. And so another diversion. So I wanted to mention that. Now, big on the news cycle right now, too, is the NDAA Section 2027, Section 219. I'll never forget having Senator Hatch, who's now gone, thank goodness. So he's from my state of Utah, and he came on my show, and he realized that we were asking him about the NDAA, and he even crumpled up paper to say that, the connection is bad. Oh, I can't hear you. We were dying laughing because he goes, why would we do anything in the NDAA, Kate? Because it's just there to be written, not to be used. And I was like, are you kidding? So Senator Hatch, there's so many sellouts on our right. So Anyway, I mean, aren't they pretty much all? But here we go with NDAA Section 219. This creates a permanent U.S. Israel military merger inside the Pentagon, full integration of defense technology, cyber, AI, biotech, and intelligence, and it locks America and Israel together at the hip from the deepest levels of our national security apparatus. We have Tom Cotton's Intelligence Bill, Intelligence Authorization Act, because remember, if you got my book on the AI, you understand where AI is going. And it is not what people are talking about. I haven't heard anyone on the right even mention this because they can't, because they're bought. So there is a conclusion to AI. There is a reason they're doing AI right now. And go get the ebook at katetalks.myshopify.com and help the show. Tom Cotton's Intelligence Bill, Intelligence Authorization Act makes intelligence sharing with Israel basically irreversible. But honey, it already has been. So there's that. Anyway, a future president would have to jump through insane hoops just to reduce cooperation. A future president will never do that because a future president has to abide by Israel because Israel is basically running the country. Okay. And it removes America's control. Okay. So I'm saying all of this because these bills are very interesting. They're gonna go through, and what they're doing is legally merging Israel and America. But this all got merged with the Trilateral Commission back in the 70s anyway, 60s and 70s. This was already the merger started in the 40s, but it was already happening. So this is really old news. It's just they want to make it legal in our system a long time. The presidency is fake also. So the president really doesn't have a lot of power. The president is there as puppetry to do what the deep state wants the president to do, to move in the direction and hit all of the big items. This is not about the diversion is that he has power. The diversion is, look here, he's saying this about this or this about this. It absolutely is fakery. It is not the case. Same with this. It's already happened. It's already done. They just are trying to make it legal. So there's that. Melissa. So there were so many more that I have. And I just wanted to let you guys know, by the way, cell phone, the U.S. military Mole's new cell phone ban for troops after fury over the Metaglass video, which was fakery. This is in big news today. The cell phone ban isn't because of the Metaglass video. The cell phone ban is because they don't want any military taking any photos or video of anything that's actually happening because we have so much fakery going on. So just thought I would let you know on that one. But saying all of this, I literally had 10 more I could have talked about today, like bottom line, here's what I think is going on kind of things. And I just, the water thing I'll talk about more tomorrow with the data centers because there's more about water and poisoning us than people realize. And it's really at kind of the guts of the story there. So we'll talk about that more. But tomorrow, Dr. Lee Merritt's coming on. She has a new book out and it's really good. So you're gonna wanna tune in live tomorrow as well. Melissa joins me today and Susan's out, and Susan will join us next week. But I wanted to welcome Melissa because I took up a ton of time today because there was so much to talk about and catch up on over the last month and a half. And I really appreciated you guys giving me that month because it was tough. Please go get the cancer ebook on how to solve cancer. I'm saying solve so that YouTube won't ban me. That's how censored we are, but naturally. And this is after doing the show for 16 years and interviewing over 100 of the best holistic doctors in the world. This is what works and this is what doesn't. katetalks.myshopify.com. Just remember Kate Talks and My Shopify. Okay. Go get it and go get the book on AI because it talks about where we're really going with AI by 2029. Like what's the real story behind AI? Melissa, welcome to the show. How are you?
I am great as ever.
Good. Thank you for allowing that because there was just so much. I mean, Lindsey Graham, I mean, come on. Yeah. Gay sex games. Yeah. Went wrong. Yes. And Mitch McConnell is dead. I'm sorry, but that guy is gone.
Yeah,
it's Weekend at Bernie's.
I knew Mitch McConnell
Anyway.
was gone.
Yeah. They love to play that scenario. They did it with Ginsburg for like 7 months. right? 6 months. I mean, it was crazy,
It's
maybe even
just
longer.
Gross.
Mm,
It's
yeah.
gross. And I have to say, just sitting back and listening,
Uh-huh.
you have now confirmed Candace Owens' proposition that everything is fake and gay.
Well, it is. I mean, you got to give her
She's
some
totally
props.
right, and you're totally right.
Well, it's funny. People always lump Candace and I together, but I don't know Candace, and I haven't had her on the show. She's one of the very few. I've had Matt Walsh. You name it. I probably had him on. Charlie Kirk I had on the show, but I never had Candace on. But there is a lot I agree with when it comes to Candace. I just worry about where Candace gets her money. So there's that because media that's popular and doesn't get taken out is usually bought. But I appreciate that because when she says everything is fake and gay, that part's true. And it really is. And even if someone's not gay, and let's say they're in the Senate or the House or a judge or whatever, they usually have dirt on them anyway. So however they got that dirt, whether it was using drugs that they can't remember what happened for 24 hours, like Devil's Breath that they used in Colombia or whatever, they take photos, they do all kinds of things, and they think they can prove their case. And they have the bot media to tell the story. So all I'm saying is, everything is fake and gay. And I wish people would kind of realize that by now. And I also wanted to mention Tina Peters getting out was an amazing thing. And I'm going to try to get her back on the show because she was on right before she was sentenced. And I'll try to get her back on. So there's that. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. I've been gone a while.
A summertime vacation is never goes amiss.
No,
just
it's
doesn't.
a lot of
I'm
news
sorry,
cycle.
I'm so sad. And very sympathetic to the situation you've been in for the summer. But
Thanks. Thank you.
Because
know.
I lost both of my parents too fairly recently.
Yes, you
and,
did.
Yes,
you did.
It's just a hard thing to go through. And so I feel
It's a
your
lot.
pain in a lot of ways.
Thanks.
I
appreciate that.
The story, so I have what I'm bringing to the table today is maybe a story that is going under the radar a little bit.
Okay.
But we should be paying attention to it. So some of the AI companies, Anthropic and Meta are two of them. They are on the hunt right now for books written before 2022.
Wow.
And they're buying them in mass, like thousands of titles at a time.
Yes.
Because, and what's so significant about 2022 is that's the break point. Books written before 2022 were not written by AI at all.
You're right.
And so what they're doing is they're trying to feed these old books into the AI system in order to improve the AI writing ability.
Yes. Yes.
What the downside of this, like it's all downside, but another, shall we say, downside of this is they're buying rare books. Old and rare. Some of these books, there may only be a handful of copies of them anywhere in the world. And when they go to these AI, they're calling them data mills. They are scanning the books with high speed, high resolution cameras or whatever they use. But in order to do that, they are stripping the bindings off the books. And when it's over, the books are done. They're being trashed because they cannot be used anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, it's the facility is called an ISBN DB facility.
It's an ISBN database facility.
Yes. Yes.
That's what the DB stands for, database. And if you ever, like I do, have nightmares and you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about George Orwell, great place to be inside my head.
At this
what
point?
better way to change the history of the world
Yeah.
than to consume all the books and then destroy them?
Yes. Yes. I totally agree with you. In fact, a friend, Eric, had sent this to me, and he sent me things all through the years. And these AI companies buying up all this bulk. Now, what's kind of fascinating about this is that we did a show quite a long time ago, because Jeff Bezos is bought and sold, right? So he was there to engineer the new Kindle. And Kindle, he was recorded in an interview talking about kindling and how it got its name. And kindling in of itself is contributed to book burning because they want these copies to be gone, and they want digital copies then to be the new the new normal for us. We don't get to go look in old books. And here's the deal. I'm so with you on this because we don't realize the book burning that we're going through, and AI has just made it even worse. So AI is going to be blamed for this book burning, but they've been planning this, I think, for a very long time in getting rid of books, because if you have the book, you can go back and you can say, but this is what the book says. If you have a digital copy in Kindle or whatever you're doing with reading, if you have a digital copy, they can change it and go, no, this is the book. This is what it says.
Right.
Right.
And if you have no actual physical book
Mhm.
to refer to,
Right.
anything can be
Right.
the truth.
Yes. Yes. I agree
And
with you.
anything will become the truth as they want it
It's
to be
horrid.
so.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to tell a quick little parable for you.
Okay.
We've all heard about the library at Alexandria, right?
Right.
And we know that that was destroyed. And when it was destroyed, the wisdom and the knowledge of the ancient world went with it.
True.
So the question is, most people say, well, what happened to the library? How did it get destroyed?
Mm-hmm.
And Julius Caesar, for one, he was responsible for the loss of about 40,000 scrolls when they set fire. And then the rest of the scrolls that were left were transferred into a pagan temple in Alexandria. And by the Christian era, the Archbishop of Alexandria destroyed the pagan temple. And when the pagan temple was destroyed, those remaining scrolls went with it. So that has been the conventional story. However,
Interesting.
I just read this really interesting little bit about this that has to do with Anthropic and AI and book burning and all of this others. That the real culprit behind the destruction of the library at Alexandria was not necessarily fire, although that did plenty of damage, but that the real culprit was negligence.
Interesting.
That by the time the Archbishop of Alexandria was destroying for, his share of the scrolls, many of those scrolls had already fallen into disrepair. And in order to maintain a scroll, mice will nibble at a scroll and bugs get in them, and they just, corrode over time because they're made of, they're organic materials, whatever. And in order to maintain a library the size of Alexandria, they were constantly having to recopy and maintain the library. What really happened to Alexandria was that they just lost the will to maintain it.
Right.
They just didn't care anymore.
Interesting. Just
And
apathy
so-
is what you're saying.
Pardon?
Apathy.
Yeah. It
Okay.
just began to just decay all on its own. And it makes me wonder, and the reason I tell that story is the destruction of the Library of Alexandria. I found this quote to be very, very interesting.
Right.
It's not the disappearance of the library that led to the Dark Ages, nor would its survival have improved those ages. The fact that the library was allowed to die showed that the Dark Age had already arrived.
Interesting. Okay.
So let's talk again about Anthropic and what we're allowing to happen to our books.
Okay.
And is this a sign, a predictor of our own coming dark age? It's a really intriguing question.
Well, if you do an interview on the street right now, you're going to think the Dark Ages is here because people are the most ignorant, weak, complacent. We just celebrated 250 years, but it's 250 years of weak people just going along with the show. So I'm for the majority anyway. So yeah, if you did an interview on the street right now, you would say we are in that period of time. Apathy and
I do not believe that the
brainwashing.
dark age has fully arrived,
Maybe not.
but I
It's a
believe
beginning.
it has begun.
Yeah.
And the reason why I believe it has begun is because I have been convinced now that we are in what's called a post-literate society.
I like that. Post-literate. I like that. Okay.
Post-literate. And
Yeah.
here, I'll give you some statistics. I know
Okay.
you love my statistics. when I bring
Yes.
it. The NEA,
Okay.
the National Endowment for the Arts, has said that in 2022, less than one half of adults had read a book of any kind during the year. Of any kind. That's, I asked my husband that. I
Wow.
said, have you
That's
read
sad.
a book? And
That
he
is so
was just
sad.
like, oh, I don't know. But he has. I know he has. He just read a book about mason bees. So I know he has.
Mhm. Yeah.
A time use survey of 236,000 people said that on reading for pleasure on any given day,
Mm-hmm.
in 2004, 28% of people had picked up a book on any given day, right?
Okay.
By 2023, that number is now 16%. And that includes books, magazines, newspapers, audio books, any kind of published anything.
And all digital too, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about how many people are gambling.
Yeah.
57% of American adults say that they have gambled, and only 16% say they have read anything.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that cuts across all ages,
Mm-hmm.
genders, ethnicities, and educational level. So it's not like Harvard graduates are sitting out there pontificating over their many tomes,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
people down the block are not. That they're spending their time on fantasy football. It's nobody's reading. Nobody.
How sad. Because I read. I mean, that's all I do. I feel like that's all I do is read. It's the last
I know that
16
feeling.
years doing this. That's all I do is read. So you mentioned art with that. What was the connection to art? In
I
the
don't
very
know.
beginning? I don't
Did
know.
I mention art?
Yeah,
I don't
thought
think
you did. Okay, never mind.
Not yet.
Okay.
In 1958, the best-selling novel of 1958 was
Mhm.
Dr. Zhivago.
Okay.
In 2025, the best-selling novel was Sunrise on the Reaping, a young adult Hunger Games novel.
Interesting.
So, what does it take to read Dr. Zhivago compared to Sunrise on the Reaping? Now, that's a book, and some people are reading it. Not as many,
Yeah.
but some people are reading. In our schools, school librarians are buying shorter, easier books for children to read, including in their libraries graphic novels,
Mhm.
Magic Treehouse books,
Mhm.
manga, all these, which are, I have no problem with Magic Treehouse books or graphic novels even. But when the bulk of the library for our children's schools has become
Mhm.
that's the choices that our children are making, and they're not really reading. Only in
Interesting.
2024, only 35% of high school seniors were proficient at literary analysis. And
Wow.
in order to draw a conclusion from a text. So they can have a text in front of them, they can read it. When we talk about post-literate society, we're not talking about the ability to read a word.
Mhm.
We're talking about the ability to comprehend what those words mean.
Oh, it's so true. Oh my
And we
gosh.
are
Yeah.
in that.
Mhm.
So what are we're reading? People are still reading. What are they reading? They're reading emails,
Mhm.
text messages. They're
Mhm.
reading X. They're reading Reddit posts.
Mhm.
They're reading
You're right.
Instagram captions.
You're right.
They are not reading actual long format books.
That is the truth. We are so dumbed down that to even start a book that would incorporate language that they use, because we're supposed to be smarter than the people in the 1700s, right? And on down,
No,
right? We're supposed to
I
be.
do not believe that.
No, they were far smarter. They were amazing, and we even have trouble watching movies about, like, let's say the 1700s or 1800s because of the way they speak, and they've even dumbed that down. But we even have a problem with that. So yeah, I do think we would have a problem reading a book from the 1800s. We would not understand it at all.
I'll give you a really good example that will
Okay.
make you, this is even more horrifying than what you just described. A Harvard humanities professor
Okay.
had a student that approached them and said, I don't know why you gave us this book to read. It's written in Old English and I can't understand it. And when I was thinking, oh, is this Chaucer? Are they reading, Shakespeare? They were reading 1963's publication of A Clockwork Orange.
Oh, wow. Really?
And they said it was written in Old English and they couldn't comprehend it. think on that for a minute.
That's really scary, Melissa.
So
Yeah.
that's what I say.
So,
Reading now at the
Mhm.
college level, college students, these are
Mhm.
college students, are now telling their professors that reading is a burdensome way to learn. They don't want books assigned in their classrooms, or they are going to ChatGPT to have ChatGPT scale it back so that they can understand what they're reading.
How sad. We don't seek for understanding. We just seek for it. We seek for it to be dumbed down. That's really pathetic. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my gosh. You know the movie Amazing Grace by Angel? It was a really good movie about William Wilberforce, right? He
Yeah,
was the one
yeah.
guy in England that was trying to change hearts and minds about slavery. And he worked for, he was part of the government there. And he really, really tried for years to do that. And I know that when you're watching that movie, it's a fantastic movie. Go watch it. Amazing Grace, 2006. When you're watching that movie, a lot of people that watch, say, the first 20, 30 minutes would probably go, oh, I can't understand this, because he's speaking about the issue, but he's using terms from the 1700s and 1800s, right? So that kind of speak is hard for people right now to digest. So that film probably gets turned off a lot in the first 15, 20 minutes, but it shouldn't, because they actually had to dumb that down even to produce a movie about William Wilberforce, and the loophole he used to get rid of slavery in Britain, after, of course, when we were doing it, but we were the leaders in that, the USA, by the way. But it's amazing because I think for somebody to get through these movies, even the dumbed down versions of the movies, at the end of them, just like the new young George Washington, what have you, we're going to learn great concepts and precepts about liberty and about what we should know. But they've even had to dumb that down because we can't handle, if the movie had been written the way probably it should have, even Amazing Grace, no one would understand it right now. It'd be like a foreign language.
Well, let me give you an example out of my own life and career. I was teaching a history class, an American history class.
Yeah.
And I assigned to all of the students to read the preamble to the Constitution, the We the People part.
Yeah.
And my students came back the next week and I said, okay, let's talk about, the Constitution, and we're going to have this discussion. And several of my students said, I tried to read it, but I couldn't understand any of it.
Wow.
And we read it together as a class, and I had to break down and define each word.
Wow.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. What does a perfect union mean? It was shocking to me at the time. And I have and this was not recently, by the way. This was probably 15 years ago or more. And I have thought often, as we talk about, we have lots of people, especially on the conservative side, Constitution, Constitution, Constitution. And we're not even asking ourselves, can anyone out there even read the Constitution? Do they even know what those words mean?
Right. And we can, like Chris Ann Hall says, our constitutional expert and attorney, who's trying to educate people all over the world. She's like, it's not written in Chinese. I mean, you can digest it. It isn't that hard, but we have been trained to think that we have to have interpreters for it. So,
well, we do. The fact of the matter is, Kate, we do have to have interpreters for it because it's got big words in it.
Right.
It's got words that have multiple syllables in it.
But that's
really hard now.
If we sought to understand and learn and actually were educated, what I'm talking about is the interpreters that change the meaning. So the interpreters that it means, I'm woke and this is what it means, that's the kind of interpreter I'm talking about.
The problem with what you're talking about is we don't have people who can read the original to know whether the interpreters are telling them the truth or not.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what the words actually mean. Oh, it's woeful. It's very woeful. And it makes me very, very sad. However, I will point out that I have noticed it even in my own life. I have been a big time reader for a long time. And I noticed that my ability to cope with a long form book that requires concentration for me has become more difficult.
Yeah.
And some of that is, and I notice unless I I have to put my phone away.
Mm-hmm.
I have to turn all of the distractions off
Right.
in order to direct my mind at concentrated reading is a mental process. And I just think we've become very mentally
Mm-hmm.
lazy. We don't
Yes,
want
we
to
have.
engage in who wants to read Charles Dickens where the sentence structure is difficult or
Mhm.
longer than we're used to.
Right.
Can't I just read maybe it would be okay with me if I just read the the manga version of it. You know
Yes.
what?
So true.
We need to have students
Mm-hmm.
go back to some of that. Kindergarten teachers are now saying that they have kindergartners who are coming to school. They don't know any nursery rhymes. They don't know any of the fairy tales.
Wow.
And why would that be? It's because no one is reading those things to them anymore. No one is telling them. There's a certain
Mm-hmm.
literacy that comes from learning
Mhm.
rhyming things.
Mhm.
And that's where sometimes, nursery rhymes have that kind of
Mm-hmm.
rhyming pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And here's an even more sad statistic. Preschool teachers
Mm-hmm.
are saying that when it used to be that when preschoolers came on the first day, they cried for their mummies.
Yeah.
Now, when they come on their first day, they're crying because they
phones?
don't have their iPads.
I was gonna say phones, iPads. Isn't that sad? How sad?
They don't have their device. And they're crying because they have not ever had to
Mhm.
cope with being
Right.
without it.
Right. Right. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Things have changed a lot. I noticed in the movie Odyssey. I went to see it with the kids and all the spouses, and we all went. And it was gruesome, and I wish actually I hadn't seen it. It was woke. It was they had a tranny playing the part of Brad Pitt's character in the very beginning. It was just weird. It was just a very dark, weird movie, which I wish I could take back those 2.5 hours. But in that story, they were trying to tell us that Christianity wasn't a thing for people, that everyone believed in the 12 gods, the Greek gods, and that's all they believed in. And that was sort of the messaging that I was getting through the movie, was that they're trying to sort of say that Christianity was just a construct later on, and that usually all the people were just into the Greek gods. And so I have a lot of questions about Homer. I have a lot of
Well-
questions about when that book was written, but it was just very strange movie.
Well, I can answer a little bit
Awful,
of that.
dark. Mhm.
Okay. I have also prepared
Uh-huh.
some information that kind of tag teams on the back of what we've talked about with a
Okay.
post-literate world.
Okay.
And whether are we actually descending into a dark age? And so Homer is
Mhm.
not written at a time when there were any Christians. The Trojan War comes out of a time called the Bronze Age collapse.
Mhm.
And the Bronze Age collapse is about 1200 BC.
Mhm.
Okay, so not too many Christians in 1200 BC. Just saying.
Mhm. But
And-
we had them. I still
Well-
think we had. I know history tells us we didn't, but I do think
Well-
they were there.
Okay, we can have that conversation in a different way.
Okay.
Were there people of the faith that will eventually produce Christianity? Yes.
Mhm.
However, they weren't in Greece. They weren't in Troy. That's for sure. So there's no reason to reference Christianity at all
Mhm.
in the Odyssey because they're Greeks. They're not in the place where they would even come upon an Israelite.
Mhm. I don't
All right.
know. I don't know. I agree to disagree on that one, but I do, because I do think that there was still a heavy belief in the great God, in God Himself. But go ahead.
Well, that's a different phraseology.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about
Okay.
that some other time.
Okay.
In any event, what people don't know is that civilizations have collapsed before.
Mm-hmm.
And for us to believe that it might not happen to us is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And we are already seeing the cracks in the system that may, like I said, if you think about Alexandria and you think, oh, the destruction of the library was not just
Mhm.
the beginning, it was a symptom that it had already commenced.
Mhm.
I think we could make a case that our dark age has also is also commencing. It has
Right.
already begun.
Mm-hmm.
And what I need to, I'm going just to set the historical stage without a big history lecture,
Mm-hmm.
is that the Bronze Age was a time of great sophistication, large cities, very complex trade networks, and urban. It was a very urban time.
Mm-hmm.
People think mistakenly that anytime you turn the clock back, people were dumb and stupid and they lived, in caves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not true. That is absolutely not true of the Bronze
Yeah.
Age.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There were these networks of communications that happened between these large cities, Ugarit, the Minoan Greeks or Mycenaean Greeks.
Mm-hmm.
There was ancient Egypt. The
Mhm.
Egyptians were hanging on.
Mm-hmm.
There were people all over that part of the world, the Eastern Mediterranean.
Mm-hmm.
And for reasons unknown,
Mm-hmm.
or at least controversial reasons, in about 1200 BC, all of that upended. And they entered into a new era. Now, what you'll read in your history book is it's the end of the Bronze Age and the beginning of the Iron Age.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really explain much more. And I always used to think, well, look, technology progressing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really what was happening. There was a collapse of all of those ancient, big urban cities, those city-states, huge. And why did it happen? And so what the current thinking is that it was a systems collapse. It was a series of interlocking problems that led to this gigantic upending of everything they knew in their world. And I want you to listen carefully and see how many of these would you check off in our world right now.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that was happening, they entered a cycle where the climate was unstable. They had famines and drought, which disrupted economies. It disrupted farming and the ability of the people to feed themselves. And when you have this great climate instability, and it's weird how they didn't have, like internal combustion engines, but they had climate problems.
Well, cyclical, not human caused. Cyclical.
It's not human caused. It was just a climate shift, but it led to other problems internally in their civilizations. It led to profiteering. It led to mercenary soldiers. It led to corruption in their governments because they're trying to cope with what do you do when you have a huge city and you have to feed all the people? As long as your farmers are producing and everything's going along great, everything's going along great. But when you begin to have a reduction in what farmers can do, it's going to cause problems. That led to displaced populations. People who said, well, you know what? Time's up. I can't make a living here. I can't feed my family. Maybe we should all join together and go find a new place to live. So you have huge populations of refugees on the road moving into new places that they had never been before. And if you look in history books, you'll read about the Sea Peoples. Nobody really knows who the Sea Peoples were. They attack in ancient Egypt. The Egyptians are able to fight them off, but they were also in other places. And so who are they? Are they mercenaries? Are they soldiers just footloose? Are they people who are just, climate pressure has caused them to displace elsewhere? Or are they people who have been beset by all of those people and they're just looking for a safer, better place to live? There's all of those things. Climate change, displaced populations, cause internal struggles for all of these big civilizations, increase taxes. They become more difficult to defend themselves. Their diplomacy breaks down. Their traditional alliances begin to break down. Rival cities crop up and put pressure on them. Their supply chains become unstable. In
Mhm.
order to maintain some of these cities, they had to have bronze, and
Mhm.
bronze is dependent on tin and copper.
Mhm.
Tin and copper are not found together in the same place. You have to bring copper from Cornwall or from Afghanistan,
Mhm.
and you have to take it to Greece, where the Mycenaean Greeks were mining copper. And then you have to have the technology in order to produce bronze.
Mhm.
So the trade networks began to be disrupted by pirates, by overland caravans were being pillaged, all of these things, and they're all happening all at the same time and everywhere. Then there's earthquakes, a series of earthquakes. Nobody really knows exactly. They know that there's evidence of earthquakes in the zone, if you will, but nobody really knows what is the damage
Mhm.
that's done by an earthquake. And so historians have begun to label all of this as a lack of resilience. And I
Mhm.
love this is another great quote. A complex, globalized world can be both powerful and fragile at the same time.
Mhm.
And I think that's the world we live in.
Okay.
We are both powerful and fragile at the same time, meaning we have some resilience to one thing happening. We can deal with a supply chain problem. What we cannot deal with is a supply chain problem and a climate problem and pressure that's coming from, corroding diplomacy
Mhm.
and refugees flooding into the country and what's it going to take to tip the scale?
Mhm.
And that's what happened to them. All of these things. And by the way, one of the things that disappears in the Bronze Age collapse, interestingly enough,
Yeah.
they become post-literate. There's a language out there that was being written called Linear B,
Mhm.
and to this day, you can read the words. They have sounds attached to the letters, but there is no language connected to it that is spoken anywhere in the world today. So no one can read the texts from Linear B.
Mhm.
And the Bronze Age world, they kept incredible records. We have those clay tablets today to look at. But after the collapse, no one is keeping records. It all goes away. And by the way, I brought this up because the Odyssey is set in that collapse time. The attack
Mhm.
on Troy is a model of all of this stuff that we're talking about. It's pressure from another city state on Troy. The Greeks are attacking Troy and things are not going well and the city is looted and burned.
Right. Mhm.
So I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Are we standing at the dawn of a new dark age in which oral traditions, originally Homer was not even written. It's not
Mhm.
written until some scribes at the Library of Alexandria write it down.
It was
It
verbal
was an
over
oral.
centuries. Yeah. Oral. Yeah.
It was completely remembered. You had to memorize it.
Mhm. It's
But
funny that people don't pick that apart, but they pick apart the Bible. Now I know that the kings would go over the Bible and they would drop certain books, which are the apocrypha and things like that. I know that they would drop certain books to their liking, but it's kind of interesting that the Bible gets a lot of debate, but the Odyssey doesn't. Really?
well, yeah, that's true. That is true. My own reaction to that would be that the Bible was written much earlier. It
Mhm.
existed in a written form earlier than the
Yeah,
Odyssey, which should give it even more.
it
There
should.
should be more flexibility instead of
Mhm.
less because of the time. And I think readers of the Bible today,
Mhm.
we are not very good at reading an ancient text,
Yeah. It's
and that
yeah.
includes the Odyssey as well.
It's interesting.
We're not really great at reading that either.
I find it interesting that the Greek gods, and I'll talk more about this at a future date, but that Christ has 12 apostles and we have 12 main Greek gods. I just find that kind of interesting to see that this, I think, invention of the Greek gods is kind of a competing narrative to Christ, who I believe in, and his apostles, who I believe in. So very, very interesting that it has the same number. I don't know. I've always found that sort of strange, to tell you the truth, that I think there was a definite competing narrative for Christ and for what was to come. But I think the Greek gods.
We'll have to delay that conversation. There's a fascinating conversation to be had there.
Yes,
I'm not
there
sure
is.
this is the moment for it.
No, but isn't that, I just wanted to throw that out there at people. I do find the similarities very interesting. So,
well, I guess the thing that history can teach us, and we are woeful at history. By the way, many people believe that in order to have, as we lose the ability to be literate, we're going to lose history, we're going to lose science, we're going to lose philosophy. Look around. Are we losing it now? I think we are.
There was a reason we got Kindle. There was a reason that Kindle was named after kindling, thanks Jeff Bezos, who's bought and sold CIA member, and not who people think. But there was a reason we started getting the digital book. This is the best way to store everything. And it caused people to start giving out and throwing out, I should say throwing out, all of their ancient books that they have. And I think there was a definite recipe to all of that in a narrative to say, you don't need those old dusty books anymore. Get rid of them. And please don't, people, do not get rid of your ancient books, because I think that we're going to need to reference a lot of those books in the future, because they're trying to change them and they're going to AI them. And we are going to be so dumbed down and brainwashed that we're actually going to believe the changes. So I would say, definitely do not throw anything out like they want us to. But there's been a concerted effort to have us throw out books and just go to digital. And I actually have a friend that got rid of all of her books because she goes, well, digital's just easier. And I'm like, ooh, ouch, do not do that. Oh, gosh.
Well,
please.
Digital may be easier, but we have had this conversation on this very show. Your brain's ability to comprehend and understand and remember what you read in a digital format is different than what it is in an actual physical book. So, and that's the whole name of the game here is we are human beings with brains, and we need what we don't use, we lose. And we are right now in the process of losing our ability to even read old texts.
True.
In any format.
So
we're losing the ability to read a long, complicated sentence, or even we're losing the vocabulary of the past in order to read and understand and comprehend. And that means that everything will change. Our conversations will change. By the way, the coming of literacy is connected to revolutionary movements around the globe. Now, maybe we don't want revolution, but the founders of the country said, when you only have an oral tradition, when you only have an oral people who have to hear everything, you can your only audience is the people right in front of you. It was publication that allowed the ideas of the American Revolution to spread, and the ideas of the Enlightenment, actually, to spread across the whole country.
Yeah, because it happened spiritually before the revolution ever actually happened. And thanks to George, that no one ever talks about, not George Washington. But go see the movie The Great Awakening. It's on Prime, because it talks about the spiritual revolution, and those ideas spread orally, but at the same time, I mean, and that was a total by divine, given the fact that George had an ability to raise his voice in a way that 30,000 people could hear. I think that was a miracle in of itself. But things had to be written for those ideas to spread as well. And I think you're exactly right on that.
That's correct. Yeah. The publication of Thomas Paine, the publications of Benjamin Franklin, those were things that were spreading ideas The oral part of this is the conversations people had after they read them.
Yeah, George
We
Whitfield.
don't have that community conversation anymore about anything.
Yeah, you're right. George Whitfield, by the way. I actually had to look his name up because I had a total brain fart and because I could not remember his name and because it is not drilled into our brains because they didn't want us to know about that spiritual awakening before the revolution.
Well, who wants to talk about religion as a creator of revolution?
They don't, because they're doing everything in their power to erase Christianity right now and
They
to
are.
eventually make Christians the demons and the people that are the worst in society. You watch, there's a concerted effort. I've talked about it a lot on the show.
And
So-
the people who are followers of the Bible are
Mhm.
almost universally called the people of the book.
Yeah. The
It's
people of the book.
the written Bible. How many
Yeah.
people can read the Bible anymore?
They can't. It's hard. They want to watch a reel where somebody like a bimbo like talks like this and like explains it to them. And so that's what we're reduced to right now, watching reels and watching bimbettes and guys that cannot speak to tell us the synopsis instead of actually reading literature. We want the synopsis, the cliff notes, but we want it done by a bimbette that talks like this. So yeah.
Well, to kind of round
Sad.
out the conversation,
Mhm.
what does a collapse really mean? And this is the encouraging part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Collapse means there's going to be a loss of security, and people who have been formerly high status will become less so.
Mhm.
And this is very interesting because I think we are seeing this crack happening too. Collapse means that the elites begin to panic because they are losing their power.
Mhm.
And I think we are seeing that. I absolutely believe that some of the smoke and mirrors is meant for us not to be able to see the cracks in the World Economic Forum and their loss of power. Now you can expect there's going to be a power grab
Mhm.
by those people, but it will probably not be successful as all of these things go offline, as things begin to power down
Mhm.
and people begin to realize we have to live with less.
Yeah.
The elites will also have to live with less, and they're beginning to see it.
Mhm.
They are beginning to see it, not just us. So how do ordinary people find a way? How many there's been other collapses, right? There's the collapse of the Roman Empire into the Middle Ages. Another dark age commences. So what do ordinary people do? How do they, when the big power structure disappears, what do they do? And I think this is really great. The ending of one thing is almost always the beginning of something new.
And it usually comes with the loss of God, the loss of morals, the loss, the introduction of major perversion, all of those. When you lose your moral compass, it's really easy to take an entire people down. It just is.
Those are things that are all connected
Mhm.
to the collapse.
Yeah.
They are not necessarily connected to what happens in the aftermath.
Yes.
If you look at the ways in which the Roman Empire became corrupted and very decadent, the Middle Ages that follow are not so decadent.
Mhm.
Now there was corruption. There's corruption in both places. There certainly is, but there's a shifting of awareness and there's a shifting of people's priorities. And ordinary people have a way of making their way through. The end of one way of looking at things is oftentimes the beginning of new ways of looking at things. If you will, it's a global reset. I don't think Klaus Schwab is wrong about calling it a global reset, but I do think he's wrong about who's going to end up winning that.
Mm.
Do you see what I'm saying? If we're descending into if there's a dark age coming, Klaus Schwab loses. But it might be a reset. The rules of power oftentimes get redrawn. People who are powerful in one system will not be powerful in the next.
Yeah.
And there may be reason to hope for all of that.
Right.
Hey, I'll just leave you with this. This is the final quote, and I think this is really brilliant. We live in a connected world too, just like they did in the Bronze Age. We depend on long supply chains, delicate infrastructures, distant resources, and invisible agreements and diplomacy. Studying the Bronze Age doesn't give us a prophecy, but it does give us a sense of how complicated systems can fail and how in the middle of that failure, people adapt, improvise, and preserve more than we might think. Somewhere in every age, someone is keeping the stories alive while the palace burns. And I love that. That
Yeah.
gave me so much hope. And for those of us that don't want to see the palace burn, I mean, I think it would be a painful thing. It will be a very painful transition for everyone. But I think there is great hope in the books that we can preserve, in the ability that we can retain to read and write. The things that survive will be the things of enduring value.
Right.
And that means that my cell phone may not live through it, but my ability to read might. And so I'm kind of investing more and more often in the kind of intangible, like spiritual life is much more important to me now because I know it's a pointer toward the future.
Right.
It's a future way to deal with all of that collapse that may be coming our way. We are feisty people, and people will survive. When one city burns, the farmers of those cities continued to grow crops. They continued to have children. They continued to sing songs. They continued to have belief. They continued and persisted, and the world will continue to turn. It just will, but it will turn in a new way. It will be different. Different people will rise to the top. Different systems will become more important. So I think we need to really, really invest in meaningful things. Let some of the rest of this go.
Yeah.
But I do think, I mean, it's very frightening to me that we are living in a post-literate world. How many people will be able to read at all in 50 years from now?
Well, we're a real watching, REEL, real watching society right now. The dopamine kicks in and it's clip to clip to clip to clip and don't learn anything deep. So we're in trouble. That's for sure.
But you know
Yeah.
what? You don't have to be that person.
No, if you can maintain your moral compass, if you can maintain your belief in God, if you can maintain understanding how things have been perverted and narratived, if you can see it and you can actually pray for that kind of guidance to see it, I think we stand a chance. But I hope people are realizing how narratived we've been, and it's tough. That's why I went through all those stories in the beginning today, because I've been out for a month and never done that before. Sorry about that. And never done that before, a whole entire month. And my father passed away and lots of things were going on. But let me just say that maybe I'll put it this way, and I'll talk about this more tomorrow too. The Odyssey was done by Hollywood. Think about that for just a moment. Hollywood brought us the film The Odyssey in their woke versioned way, as woke as they could spin it, without too many people criticizing how woke it was. So it was, just think about why they would do that. Why would Hollywood, the main narrators in this media captured world of brainwashing, why would they concentrate on those kinds of works? Why? There's a reason they did that movie. There's a reason that our moral compass and Christianity is sort of being robbed from us, taken from us at every turn, so that, and also that that we're a society that has changed what moral compass means, right? So Hollyweird, I like that, LB. Hollyweird is really great at getting us away from God and beholden to what they want us to think and understand. So I hope people have the sense enough to be able to see through the garbage. I really do. It's getting tough. It's getting tough. AI is making it even harder.
It's interesting. My son went to go see The Odyssey, and he's a young man, and he liked all the special effects, and it was all just glory.
You could see him. It was dark. It was a dark movie.
And he loves that.
Yeah.
He's at that age where a lot of gore and bloodshed is like very appealing to him. But you know what he did? He came home and he said, do you have a copy of the Odyssey around here somewhere?
Interesting.
And I said, yeah, I think we do.
Mm-hmm.
And so he got it out and he read the first chunk of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back to me. He said, okay, I stayed up late last night reading the Odyssey. Words I never thought I would ever hear.
Uh-huh.
He said, I stayed up late last night reading the first chunk of the Odyssey. He goes, it's really different than the movie.
Mm.
And I said, oh, you don't say. I said, are you going to
Yeah.
read more of it? He goes, yeah, I want to read the whole thing now.
Interesting.
This is a good thing.
Mm.
Now, I'm not saying we have to make dark, weird movies in order to inspire people to
I
read.
don't know if inspiration was their goal in that.
No, it's not. I do not believe that it is.
No.
But I am pleased
Mhm.
that at least in my house,
Mhm.
somebody said, okay, now I want to read that.
Mhm.
And by the way, the Odyssey, which has been in school curriculum forever as a classic text,
Mhm.
is now being removed from most schools.
Mhm.
So what's going to be left is
Mhm.
going to be the dark, weird movie.
Mhm.
People will think that is what Homer wrote, and that's not what Homer wrote, as my son found out.
Mhm. Well, interesting. I we'll talk about this more tomorrow. I have Dr. Lee Merritt coming on tomorrow. I have been gone a month. I'm back. Make sure and share this show with others. The katetalks.myshopify.com for the ebooks. Things I can say in ebook form that are even hard to say on the air because of the fact of censorship. So how to deal with cancer, that's all there. What works, what doesn't, and all of those things. Thanks, Melissa. I appreciate you. Thank you for
Until
coming
next
on.
week.
All right, until next week. And Susan will be with us next week too. I just wanted to say just a few things. So, number one, when it comes to the Odyssey, I'll talk about this a little bit more tomorrow, but I want to say this because I think it's important. The Odyssey points to this voyage and to the gods as being the god of that time. I don't think it does Christianity any favors. I think this is one of the main reasons why Hollywood has invested their time into it. Am I grateful people can read? Yes. Although I will say that what are we absorbing? The Odyssey is very interesting that it survived all of those centuries. When people even look back at the Bible and they have problems with the Bible, which is amazing to me, but all you have to do is pick up a Bible to understand what truth is. But it is very interesting to me that people debate the origin and how it got preserved and everything else, but they don't with the Odyssey, which is really kind of weird. So I'll talk more about that tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm also going to talk about something that's kind of fascinating to me, and that is this art. Okay. And I thought Melissa had mentioned art. Maybe I was wrong, but art, child trafficking, the connections with Hollywood. I want to talk about that tomorrow because there's some very interesting things about art that I want to bring up tomorrow. And also, oh man, there's just so much I want to talk about today. But I've actually been ill for the last 3 days, and I didn't even know if I was going to make it in today. It's why I canceled yesterday's show. So I was going to come back live yesterday, but I actually ate a Southwest salad that was not good. And so I promise I will not go into detail, but I just wanted to tell you that there's a reason I came live today and not yesterday. But just to wrap things up, I did want to mention the deaths of these two guests, John Rappaport and Mark Sorensen. John Rappaport, of course, who you probably have heard, and he had some great synopsis on not only COVID, but just the whole architecture of the brainwashing in media, because he was a member of media. And then, of course, Mark Sorensen, who was the vitamin D guy that said, get out in the sun, and get out in the sun, especially right now for these 6 months, because you need your sun absorption, and sun actually reduces cholesterol. So there's so many things there's so many connections there. I can talk about that more tomorrow. But I also wanted to mention this guy again. This guy, I think, died in Sex Games Gone Wrong. He was gay. There was a lot of chatter about that for years and years and years, just like a lot of the governors are, just like a lot of the Senate, a lot of the House. he was closeted is what's being said out there. And I just wanted you to know that I when this happened on a Saturday night and it happened so suddenly, I actually don't think it was the shots. I think it was a cover up. I do not think it was Russia getting him, because he was a good old boy. He'd do anything they said to do. And the Ukrainian guy Zelensky, a little gay puppeteer. So you never know what's going on behind the scenes, especially in the meetings with these guys. But they definitely wanted to cover up his death. And that's funny. I always call him Linda Graham as a comment coming in. Linda Graham. That's funny. Anyway, thank you for that. And also Mitch McConnell, I think he's very much dead. I think that they're covering that up. I think just like they did with Ginsburg and probably others too, they keep the seat alive. So they make sure that no one really understands that, well, they want the seat occupied for certain votes coming through. So that's why they keep the narratives alive. And I went through all of these kinds of stories at the beginning of the show today, if you missed it. And so you can rewatch the beginning of the video. I also wanted to tell you, go get the ebooks at katetalks.myshopify.com. These are powerful ebooks. I'm working on putting up another one right now, but I was sick and I couldn't get to it. So, but I will hopefully by this weekend. I have another ebook coming out that's very telling. And I also wanted to tell you about Cardio Miracle too. It's one of the reasons I love this drink. I've been drinking this since last August, September. And let me just tell you, cardiomiracle.com/Kate. Just go try it. It's got all your major minerals in it and vitamin D. I mean, everything that you're needing right now. And this drink, drink it twice. Don't drink it once, drink it twice. It's very, very powerful. And I really love it. I love it for cardio. I love it it's called Cardio Miracle, but it should just be kind of like Miracle because it's got that much nutrition in it. And it's probably times 20 in the veggies that you're getting in it on a daily basis. More so than any product I've ever talked about on the air. So I like it. Cardiomiracle.com/Kate. You will feel a difference and it will help your whole vascular system, your lymph system, everything. And I do love that. I really appreciate all the comments. I've been reading the comments as we've been on the air. And so sometimes I can't always comment to them, but I do appreciate all your comments. There's been a lot today on YouTube and Facebook. I'll be back tomorrow, and it's good to be back. The show is really struggling right now. In fact, I don't know how we're going to continue on past September. So if you want to donate to the show and Actual Truth in Media, to those of us that are left in telling the truth and giving up careers to tell the truth, I would certainly appreciate that right now. Our summertime is the hardest time. July is going into August, and July, difficult times every year, no matter what was going on. But right now it's very difficult to keep the show going. People are usually off on summer break. They're usually doing their thing. So if you can donate to the show, I sure would appreciate it, because now would be the time. I'm going to try to do the show past September, but it doesn't look good right now. And I don't know how I'm going to do it. So we need your help. And it doesn't take that much to keep a show like this going. But it does take something. I can't do it for free. And I love the inclinations I get. I love the feelings I get, because honestly, I don't know how else to say this, because it's going to sound like I'm patting myself on the back, and that's not what I'm doing. But I have a really good record of being pretty darn accurate through the years, and calling things out years before we see the truth of it come out. And that's probably the whole entire reason why I continue to do this, is because when I'm looking at things, I guess I see things from a different window. I don't know, but it's been a real blessing in my life to, because I have not taken the opportunity, should I say, to get into bought and sold media. And I could have had a very long, big career in that, and I have not. So because I wanted to go the route to tell the truth, and because I recognize that at some point I greet God and I want to feel like I did everything I could do to tell the truth, I've lost those opportunities. Well, sponsors do not love people that tell the truth either. So it's been a struggle, to say the least. And I sure would appreciate you either. So Cardio Miracle supports the show. If you want to support this, go get Cardio Miracle because you're getting something for it. If you want to donate directly, do it, because right now is when it's needed. Once I'm gone, there may be still a few people trying to tell the truth. And I will always tell you how I feel. I will always tell you my first inclinations to what is going on and how I feel. And I feel like that observation level has been a real blessing for me. And it has given me this very accurate record of being right. When people yelled at me and called me things and told me that I should die and everything else, I'm like, thanks. But then it turns out what I was saying was true. So even despite all that, I'm okay with it because I don't mind it. I don't mind people like that because I just think they're lunatics anyway. But I will say that this has been a huge. It's been huge for me to be able to tell the truth like this and have some way to do it. I have to be careful sometimes because our censorship is so real. But if you want to help the show, man, would I appreciate it right now, because now's the time. Now's the time. I don't know how I'm going to do this past September. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you. And I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same bat channel. And I'll never stray from saying this is how I feel. And this, even as crazy as it's going to sound, because honey, I got some pretty crazy ideas about Hollywood and all the rest of the stuff going on. And I think we're in the major throes of fakery at its finest. When I'm looking at the headlines, I'm going fake, 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 fake. Yeah, it's all theater. Yeah, it's all theater. It is all theater. So people like me that say it's all theater are not liked by media on the right or the left. I'm just saying. So go get some Cardio Miracle, support the show, go buy the ebook, support the show, and also go and tell people about the ebooks. I would very much appreciate that. katetalks.myshopify.com. Be faithful, be fearless. I'm going to play the going in music instead of the outro that I can't find. Hey, you get me, right? I mean, sorry, it's live. What can I say? I do this live. You can also always listen to the live audio at katedalleyradio.com. And if you want any of the links I've talked about, go to katedalleyradio.com. Really appreciate you guys that you're awake and tuned and understanding the fakery going on. So I always appreciate that. And thanks, you guys. Be faithful, be fearless. I'll see you tomorrow with Dr. Lee Merritt and her new book. Thanks.